In a busy city, where people rushed past each other without a second glance, there lived a homeless man named Daniel. His clothes were old and torn. Despite his struggles, Daniel never lost his kindness. Every morning, he woke up on a bench in the park. No matter how hard life was, he always found something to be grateful for. The city was filled with people who barely noticed him. Some ignored him, some looked at him with pity, and others with disgust. But Daniel did not complain. He believed that everyone had their own struggles, even those who seemed to have everything. One chilly morning, Daniel sat outside a small bakery, hoping someone would spare him a piece of bread. As people walked in and out, he watched them with quiet patience. A young boy named Tommy ran out of the bakery, holding a bag of warm bread. As he walked past Daniel, the boy stopped. He looked at the old man's tired face and torn clothes. "Are you hungry, sir?" Tommy asked. Daniel smiled. "I am, but only if you can share without feeling sad." Tommy looked at his bread. Without hesitation, he broke the loaf in half and handed one piece to the homeless man. "Thank you," Daniel said softly, taking the bread with both hands. Tommy's mother called him from the bakery door. "Come, Tommy, we're getting late." Daniel watched them leave, feeling warmth in his heart. It was a simple act of kindness, but to him, it meant everything. That day, he made a promise to himself. No matter how little he had, he would always share with those in need. The city was full of opportunities, but none for a man like Daniel. He had once been a carpenter, but after losing his job and his home, he had no way to start over. One evening, he sat outside a restaurant, watching people enjoy their meals through the glass windows. Just then, he saw an old woman struggling to carry a heavy bag. Daniel stood up and walked over to her. "Let me help you, ma'am," he said gently. The woman looked at him with tired eyes. She saw his worn-out clothes and hesitated, but something about his face made her trust him. "Thank you, son," she said, handing him the bag. Daniel carried the heavy bag without complaint. He walked beside the woman, listening as she talked about her life. When they reached her home, she invited him in for a meal. "You don't have to, ma'am," Daniel said. "But I want to," she replied with a smile. Inside, she served him a warm plate of rice and stew. It was the best meal he had eaten in months. As he ate, the woman watched him with curiosity. "You are kind," she said. "Why are you living on the streets?" Daniel sighed. "Life was not kind to me, but I try to be kind to life." The woman nodded. "The world needs more people like you." That night, Daniel left her house with a full stomach and a heart full of gratitude. Little did he know his kindness was about to change his life forever. The days grew colder, and Daniel's struggles continued. One afternoon, as he sat near a crowded market, he saw a man sitting on the sidewalk, shivering. He looked even worse than Daniel. Without thinking twice, Daniel walked over and sat beside him. "Are you all right, brother?" he asked gently. The man shook his head. "I haven't eaten in 2 days," he whispered. Daniel reached into his pocket. He had only $1, which he had found on the ground earlier. He had planned to buy himself a piece of bread, but looking at the starving man, he knew what he had to do. "Wait here," Daniel said. He walked to a small food stall and bought a loaf of bread with his last dollar. Then he returned and handed it to the man. The man's eyes filled with tears. "But what about you?" Daniel smiled. "I'll be okay. Eat." The man ate quickly. When he finished, he looked at Daniel with deep gratitude. "You have nothing, yet you gave me everything," the man said. "I will never forget this." Daniel simply smiled and patted his shoulder. Then he stood up and walked away, feeling lighter despite his own hunger. What he didn't know was that someone had been watching. As Daniel walked toward the park, an expensive black car pulled up beside him. "Excuse me, sir," the man said. "Can I have a moment?" Daniel hesitated. People rarely spoke to him with such respect. "Of course," he replied. The man stepped out of the car and smiled. "I saw what you did back there," he said. "You gave away your last dollar to help a stranger." Daniel shrugged. "He needed it more than I did." The man nodded, impressed. "My name is Mr. Bennett. I own a large company in this city. I believe in rewarding good people." Daniel raised an eyebrow. I don't understand. Mr. Bennet pulled out a business card and handed it to him. Come to this address tomorrow morning. I have an opportunity for you. Daniel looked at the card. It had the name of a famous construction company. His heart pounded. Was this real? Why would you help me? He asked. Mr. Bennet smiled. Because you help someone without expecting anything in return. The world needs more people like you. Daniel stared at the card as the car drove away. For the first time in years, hope flickered inside him. The next morning, Daniel washed his face in a public restroom and tried to make himself look presentable. His clothes were still old and torn, but he held his head high. When he arrived at the address, he hesitated at the tall glass building. People in suits walked past him, giving him strange looks. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. At the front desk, a receptionist looked at him suspiciously. Can I help you? I have a meeting with Mr. Bennet, Daniel said, showing the business card. The receptionist frowned but made a call. A few minutes later, Mr. Bennet himself appeared, smiling warmly. Daniel, welcome, he said. Come with me. They entered a conference room where several executives sat. Mr. Bennet gestured for Daniel to sit. I want to offer you a job, Mr. Bennet said. We need honest workers, and you've already shown me the kind of man you are. Daniel's hands trembled. But I have no home, no clean clothes. Who will hire me? Mr. Bennet chuckled. Leave that to me. We'll provide everything you need. Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. He had spent years feeling invisible, but today, someone saw him. Daniel started his new job as a construction worker. Though it was tough, he worked harder than anyone else. Every morning, he arrived early. Every evening, he stayed late. His co-workers respected him. They saw his dedication and admired his humility. Mr. Bennet kept a close eye on him. He saw how Daniel treated others with kindness, even when no one was watching. Months passed, and Daniel saved every penny he earned. He rented a small room and bought new clothes. He no longer slept on the streets. One day, Mr. Bennet called him to his office. You have proven yourself, Daniel, he said. I want to offer you a higher position. Daniel's mouth dropped open. But I'm just a simple worker. Mr. Bennet shook his head. You are more than that. You are a man of integrity. And that is what we need. Now, he had a job, a home, and a future. One day, he saw the same man he had once given his last dollar to. The man's face lit up with recognition. Daniel? Daniel smiled and handed him a warm meal. Now it's my turn to help. The man took the food with shaky hands. You've changed. Daniel nodded. Life gave me a chance. And now I want to give others the same. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. More powerful and heartwarming chapters are on the way. Stay tuned. One evening, he sat down with Mr. Bennet. Sir, he said, I want to start a shelter for the homeless. Mr. Bennet looked at him with pride. That's a noble goal, Daniel. But it takes time and resources. I know, Daniel said. But if I can help even one person, it will be worth it. Mr. Bennet smiled. Then let's do it together. With Mr. Bennet's support, Daniel began his mission. Within months, Daniel's dreams started becoming real. An old warehouse was transformed into a shelter. There were beds, bathrooms, and a kitchen where warm meals were cooked daily. A sign was placed outside. Shelter of Hope, a place to start again. Daniel stood outside on opening day, waiting to welcome the first guests. The first person who arrived was the same man he had once shared his last piece of bread with. Tears filled the man's eyes as he read the sign. You never forgot us, he whispered. Daniel smiled. How could I? I was once in your place. That night, the shelter was filled with people who had lost their way. But Daniel knew one thing. They were not lost forever. As the shelter grew, so did Daniel's responsibilities. People from the city noticed his work. Some supported him. Others doubted him. One day, a rich businessman named Mr. Carter visited the shelter. He was known for his wealth, but not for his kindness. I've heard about you, Daniel, he said. But tell me, why waste your time on these people? Most of them will never change. Daniel looked around at the people in the shelter, people who had once been hopeless, but now had a chance to rebuild their lives. I was once one of them, Daniel said firmly. If someone had given up on me, I wouldn't be here today. Mr. Carter smirked. Let's see if your kindness is real. He pulled out a check and wrote a large amount. Here's $50,000. But there's a condition. Daniel frowned. What condition? You must keep the money for yourself, Mr. Carter said. You've worked hard. You deserve a good life. Leave this shelter behind. Silence filled the room. The people at the shelter watched, waiting for Daniel's answer. Daniel looked at the check, then at Mr. Carter. Thank you for your offer, he said, tearing the check in half. Mr. Carter's eyes widened. Are you mad? Daniel smiled. No. I'm just a man who remembers where he came from. The people in the shelter erupted in applause. Mr. Carter stared at Daniel for a long moment, then chuckled. You are a rare man, Daniel. I respect that. He walked out, but word of Daniel's decision spread. People from across the city came forward to support the shelter. His kindness had been tested, and he had passed. One evening, Daniel received a letter inviting him to a special event at City Hall. He was surprised but curious. When he arrived, he saw a large crowd gathered. Mr. Bennett stood on stage, smiling. Tonight, we honor a man who has shown us the power of humility and kindness, Mr. Bennett said. He looked at Daniel. Daniel, please come forward. Daniel's heart pounded as he walked to the stage. The city recognizes your work, Mr. Bennett continued. You have inspired us all, and today we want to give you something in return. The mayor stepped forward and handed Daniel a certificate. It read, Daniel Thompson, Humanitarian of the Year. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. He had never dreamed of fame or rewards. He only wanted to help others. The mayor shook his hand. You have proven that kindness can change the world. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. But Daniel knew the real reward wasn't the award, it was seeing lives change because of a simple act of kindness. Years passed, and Daniel's shelter grew into something bigger. With donations from kind-hearted people, he built more shelters across the city. He created job programs to help the homeless find work. He even started a carpentry school, teaching skills that would help others stand on their own feet. One day, a young man approached him. Do you remember me? The young man asked. Daniel looked closely and then gasped. It was Tommy, the boy who had once shared his bread with him. I never forgot you, Daniel, Tommy said. You taught me the power of giving. Now I want to help too. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. His kindness had come full circle. From a man with nothing, he had become a man who had given everything. And in the end, his humility was rewarded in the best way possible, not with money, but with a legacy of love and kindness that would live on forever. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.